What's up guys, today I'm doing my first video here on YouTube on Linux, and I thought I would do it on a program called FZY. And if you think that sounds familiar, it probably is, because there's a program called FZF, which does pretty much the same thing in concept, and that's actually what I used to use before FZY, and so I guess I'll be going over why I switched, and what the benefits are, and what the downfalls are, and how I set it up. So first of all, what is FCF? It's a really popular program here. You can see almost 30,000 stars here on GitHub. But the problem with it is it's almost too big. Kind of does a little too much for me. It has this preview window and some other things that I really don't necessarily ever use. So I don't find them useful. On top of that, I was having issues configuring it using the environment variables consistently, which was a real pain. So I decided to just look for alternate solutions that kind of solves my problems in a more efficient manner. And that's when I came across FZY. So FZY here is a simple and fast fuzzy finder for your terminal. Wow, very similar description to FZF. And that is because it is literally the same exact thing pretty much. So if we go to our terminal here, we do find dot, well, let's go to, this is my dot file, so if I do find dot type f, you can actually see, you get a list. And you just fuzzy search through it just like normal. And you can key through it just like normal. The UI looks probably a little worse to a lot of people. It's definitely a lot simpler. And there are some options here you can configure, by the way. You can look through it, but that is the gist of FZY. So let's get into how I implemented this within Vim and within Z Shell, the two main places where I use a fuzzy finder. So inside of Vim, if I can here, draw off. This is one of my mini bindings here. I'll look for picker. This is my configuration for picker. And basically picker is a plugin here that basically wraps around the FZF interface and makes it kind of easier to interact with inside of Vim. And so if we go to the GitHub repo here, we can see that it doesn't actually say anything about FZF directly in the description, and that's because it's not actually an FZY, or sorry, not FZF, FZY. It doesn't say anything about that until you get down here. And that's because it allows you to search with tools like FZY, and you got pick, you got select A, and those are all do the same thing. They're all fuzzy finders. And it's kind of this interface, and you can give it one of these binaries, and it'll give you an interface with interacting with it inside of Vim, and then returning that output and doing some action, some Vim action on the output. And so that's kind of what Vim Picker does. And if we go back here, this is my configuration for it. So you can see here, I use AG, the Silver Searcher, as a default for actually listing these files out. Usually it uses, if you're in a Git repo, it uses git ls, and if you're out of a Git repo, it's just going to use find. So AG is a little faster, and AG also ignores stuff in git ignore and in .git, which is exactly what git ls would do. And here I have some custom flags here for FZY. So I changed the prompt, show info, similar stuff. This is an AG handler, so Silver Searcher handler. So if I wanted to, say search for FZY within all of the files within my dot files here, I can actually get a list here, and then I can fuzzy search through them. Something I had in FZF that I use quite often, so I thought I would try to implement it. So, and here's some general mappings here. And you can do all the same stuff. So edit a file, so if I want to like split a file here and split with my ZRC, I'm there. Just as quick and just as fast as FZF, but it's a lot lighter and a lot easier to implement. And I find it a little easier to customize as well, because you have full control over what's happening and when it's being executed and stuff. Whereas if you're using like FZF.vim, you really have this kind of wrapper function. And granted, I am using like this picker plugin, but I could easily write my own, version of picker and which I might do. I'm still testing out Picker. But anyway, let's get into how I did it inside of Z Shell. So some main features inside of Z Shell I'm using is like the history, or finding a file and editing it easily, or probably last one's file, putting it in your command line and then running a command on it or something. Those are the three things I use FCF the most for in the command line. And the way I do it inside of inside of Z Shell is I use the ZLE widgets. So you can find those, or I can find that within Z Shell / binding. Yeah, binding. And this is kind of where I have all the bindings and all my ZLE widgets that are being binded, I guess. So these are the three things I just showed. And you can see it's actually pretty simple. So I have a select command here. It's kind of like a private function, that's why I have the underscores there. But it uses command, it uses find. Here, an improvement is to use AG maybe. Then you see here it pipes it into FZY, and it has this environment variable called FZY default options, and it's kind of similar to the FZF default options. And I can actually show you that in my Z environment, I actually have these default options in an array, and that's where it's actually getting those from and putting them into FZY. And so once it actually echoes or grabs the option parameter, you can see here it echoes it out using a while loop, and down here we get that option in the local buffer. And then, so what this does, by the way, is it puts it into your output. This is like a variable for that inside of ZLE, and you can kind of see this other configuration I'm doing. And then I bind it down here. I'm basically saying if it exists, bind it. If it doesn't, say I wasn't able to find it. Pretty simple. And that is all I do to implement basically the same exact thing as FZF, but within Z Shell FZY. So that's pretty much it. I might actually switch back to FZF. I'm just trying this out, like I said, because I was having some troubles with FZF. So this might not be a permanent solution, but I thought I would kind of, get it out while still fresh in my noggin. And hope maybe someone finds this useful. I doubt it. If you do, that's cool. Hope you guys got something from this video. It's a pretty cool tool either way. Cool things to explore. And yeah, I think that's not it. But yeah, I would definitely check it out on GitHub here. I'll put in the description, right? But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you in the next video here. Bye.